Hi, welcome to another episode of Firm Foundations Podcast with your hosts CJ and Tony. Last week we finished chapter 31 in Genesis, where Lavan's greed and selfishness permeated the family and corrupted the relationships between them, um, caused alienation, resentment, and ultimately drove his own daughters away from him when God called uh, Jacob to go back to his homeland. His wives were more than happy to follow with him. In fact, Rachel, Laban's favorite daughter, um, would commit treason against him and steal his family idols so that he would not be able to practice divination and uh, perhaps cause harm to them. Uh, she was probably hoping that he would not be able to track them down, which he does. And uh, then we see Jacob and Laban making an armistice without peace, without a peace treaty, a lasting uh, covenant, kind of like what's going on today. And it's very interesting how the Bible always has a timely message for our day, for what's going on in our lives. There's a lot of unrest, not only in the Middle East with armistice, but also even here in the U.S. And we find ourselves in many places making the same agreement where we say, let's not pass this line of demarcation to cause one another harm. But when you draw a line like that to say, hey, you don't cross it and do me harm, I won't cross it to do you harm, you also in the end draw a line that prevents you from crossing over to showing love, and that division um, is not God's will. Um, it's not what he meant when he said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." But that brings us to chapter 32, which we're going to go into today, and we're going to see Jacob being put in a position to meet with his brother for the first time in 36 years. The brother that, the twin brother that he had um,
manipulated, tricked, schemed.
Yeah, all those words apply. No matter how noble his intentions were, um, still there was bad blood between the two of them. And so we're going to see how he prepares for this encounter, remembering that his brother Esau had vowed to kill him as soon as their father had died, and their mourning period had come to an end. So this is going to be an intensely stressful moment, and he's going to employ a three-pronged strategy to deal with it. That includes prayer and tribute and battle plans, just in case. So, shall we?
Let's get to it. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp," and he called the name of that place Mahanaim, if I'm saying that right. And we had talked about this earlier. These He meets these angels at his camp, uh, and that's it. It doesn't say why they were there. Uh, Maybe other than showing that God is still paying attention to him. I'm still hanging around,
Yeah.
uh, and the that word is it Mahanaim?
Mahanaim.
Okay, meaning double camp. Uh, so you've got two camps in the same place. One is the angels of God, and the other is Jacob and his group. And you had given me a little bit more insight on that, and I'd like you to share that.
Yeah. So the sages discuss this because, as you know, it's pretty. So the angels met him there, and that's it. That's all we got to say. Like, what's going on? You don't just gloss over that. Bring it back. What's going on? And the rabbis noted that, and of course, irregularities like that is their bread and butter. They live for those moments, which I can relate to. Nerds, right? Um, but so they asked themselves, what do you mean two camps? And what do you mean the angels came out to meet him? Um, and they came up with three different explanations. One is, well, the word translated as angel is servant or messenger. So perhaps it was a group of unknown prophets that came out to, greet him. But then they argue amongst themselves and say that can't be it because there were no other prophets that we know of other than Isaac and Jacob at the time. Another explanation is that perhaps one camp was, like you said, the angels, one camp was Jacob and his family and servants. And it becomes kind of a picture of God's kingdom in heaven and on earth, and the unity of God's kingdom across realms, which is a beautiful picture, and I love that, especially as the body of Christ. We know that we're part of God's family, and it shows that our kingdom family isn't just of this world. Um, there's a spiritual component to it, and if we go deeper, then we see we will be judging angels for their disobedience when we enter the kingdom of heaven, when we after the wedding feast of the Lamb, and it kind of brings that into focus here, hints at it. But there's another explanation saying, and this also fits well, because earlier when Jacob left the promised land, he was sent away by a vision or a prophetic dream of angels ascending and descending on the ladder, which later on we see is the Messiah himself, who is the Lamb of God, come to take the sin of the world away. And he's the only way, the only path to God. Without him, no one can come to the Father except by me, he says. And but those angels kind of wave him off see him off on his journey as he crosses over the boundary and steps foot on foreign soil now. What we're not told in that instance, but we see when we look over the entirety of the Bible, is that angels, principalities have spiritual principalities have geographical boundaries, and we have alluded to that plenty of times before, especially drawing on the book of Daniel. And it seems that not only the fallen angels, but also God's angels also might have a territorial boundary in which they operate and kind of divide amongst themselves to do God's will. And so when Jacob crosses over into Haran, there's a group of angels that God sends to protect him and to minister to him behind the scenes. And they accompany him as he's coming back to the promised land. And as he crosses over into the promised land, another group of angels come out to say hi and welcome him in under their protection. So, two camps of angels, not just angels and humans, but two separate groups of angels might also be in view here. Which, like I said, either one of those two fit with the biblical narrative.
I'm not much up on the first one, that they were prophets.
Yeah, the first, I mean, it could be, but
It won't affect us in our lifetime.
yeah.
Verse 3, then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, speak thus to my lord Esau. Thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in your sight. Right there, we can see that Jacob has done very well for himself, and we're going to find out just how well in a little bit. And we can see the fear in his, just by him calls his brother Lord, speak thus to my lord Esau. He's not taking any chances whatsoever with this encounter. He's really wanting to buy his way back into his brother's good graces, so to speak.
Yeah.
Verse 6. Did you have something else? I mean, that's...
Not really. I mean, later on it's going to come up again, but as you noted, he calls him my lord. And of course, he doesn't mean it in the sense of my God.
Right.
But he's saying it in the sense of how a British person might call somebody Lord, Sir,
the authority,
whatever. Exactly. But he was made by his, by God's will and his father's blessing. He was made Lord over Esau. So he's abdicating his spiritual authority and deferring to his brother illegitimately, which is going to be a problem. He's going to, and the sages make a point of noting that he says my lord to Esau 8 times in these 2 chapters, and that corresponds to the 8 kings that will rule Edom and which are the descendants of Esau, and they're going to be a thorn in Israel's side for a period. So what we do, what we say, has consequences. Um, yeah,
It's yeah. It's, as he's buttering up to his brother.
yeah,
Verse 6. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men." Hey, puppy. And 400 men are with him. So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and camels into two companies. And he said, "If Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the other company which is left will escape." Uh, I'm seeing a lot of fear
yeah,
right here, which I guess anybody would uh, see that if you're trying to play nice with your brother that you deceived 36 years ago, uh, and now he's got 400 men coming with him.
yeah,
So, and I like his idea of splitting the camp. That way at least somebody might survive.
yeah,
If they were going to get attacked, that's using the old noodle there. Uh,
yeah,
but you know, I know I'm drawing back that Jacob uh, physically heard God speak to him to go back.
yeah,
You know, everything's gonna be cool.
yeah.
Maybe not in those words, but
I mean,
uh,
paraphrasing it.
paraphrasing. We do a lot of paraphrasing. Um, but yet he's drawn back and thinking, well, maybe I misheard God, or maybe you know,
Yeah. Old habits die hard. Since he left his parents' house and ventured off into the world all on his own without a safety net, he's learned to fend for himself, fight for himself, and stand on his own two legs. Um, but last week we ended with noting that he is now a changed man. Um, he's not fully there yet, but we're going to see him through um, through this encounter um, and his preparation up to the meeting with his brother. He is going to go through a spiritual crucible, and he's going to be a completely changed man. Right now, he's still scheming.
mm-hmm.
He's still scheming, trying to figure out how can I do this. Like you said, instead of relying on the Lord
But that's his name, right? Schemer, or
for a little bit longer,
um,
for a day.
because he's been doing it ever since he tricked Esau.
Well,
He's done it with his brother. He's done it with his uncle.
yeah,
Tricked him into allowing him. Well, I don't know if he tricked him, but he manipulated the, if you want to call it, the animals to have you know stripes or spots or gray or whatever. And now he's again hoping to manipulate his brother into liking him because he's what he's doing. He's calling him Lord. He's gonna give him more stuff here in just a second, but
yeah,
it just doesn't stop. Like you said, old habits die hard. Uh,
yeah, yeah. That I find that it's the hardest thing for people to let go of the need to figure it out on your own and look after yourself. The self reliance is a good thing, but we tend to take it to the extreme, and it becomes a detriment to our social life and our um, joining of a community, building a community. And that's the hardest thing to get over. I know it is for me, and I've seen it in other people also. Um, but there's hope.
Verse 9, then Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy of the least of all these mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. Yeah, he's confessing right here, what God had promised him. But yet he falls back on that fear of that.
Yeah.
We probably would have done the same thing. I don't, but it's just funny reading it, and seeing how these people acted, having the highest privilege of hearing God speak to them,
Yeah.
and some instances face to face, and seeing everything that He's done for them, and still they fall back on their own reliance.
Yeah, and he's gonna make that. Um, he's gonna explicitly state that he's not worthy of all the kindnesses and the truths that he has shown him this whole time. It's baffling, but we do the same thing. I mean, one could say at least we have an excuse. We haven't heard him audibly. We haven't seen him face to face.
Right. That we know.
It's funny. Sometimes, like Jolie won't hear something if two people are conversating or what there's a show on. She'll miss something that's said, and she'll ask me like, "What?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. I'm half deaf. What's your excuse?" It's kind of like that. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
he's telling us in one sense, like, or actually, we're saying to him in one sense, like, we're half deaf. What's your excuse? Because we haven't heard the voice of the Lord the way you have. But it's also interesting that he addresses the Lord as the God who said all these things. He reminds God that he's a covenant God, that he's the promiser and the promise keeper. And that's one of the keys of his transformation, where we realize, oh, you are the one who promised. You're the one that's going to do it, no matter what I do.
right.
But it also reminds us that we have to do something when we are faced with a situation. We have a choice, and it's not only whether or not we will trust God and trust in His promises, but will we also partner with Him and take the necessary steps that under normal circumstances, this is how a normal person would proceed with this situation. Like if an enemy is attacking your country, you don't, I mean, first you pray. You get on your knees and you pray, God protect us, but you also prepare for war. You have to prepare. You have to build an army. You have to build an arsenal. You have to build your logistics. And that's what he's doing. So he's separating, like you said, into camps. And that's his battle. That's his battle preparation. The first leg of his, the first leg of his preparation is prayer. but he's also taking steps, normal tactical steps, and that's his second, the second leg of his uh, strategy to deal with this is, yeah,
Well, uh, his strategy is not to come against his brother, though. He's not going to build up an army of his own to attack in
yeah.
case he's attacked. He's hoping for the best, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, he does send his men ahead of his family. So it's kind of like, so two camps, right? One with his family, and his family is actually divided into three camps.
Yeah, the maidservants, his wife, and his wife.
Yeah. And it's also telling that it's, and we'll get there, but
Right.
it's the maids,
Leah,
Leah, and then
Rachel.
Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be telling. But ahead of him, his men go. So the idea is if Esau attacks, his men will fight, and then the family can get away.
Okay. I, my wife always tells me I'm black and white when it comes to situations because uh, I see what you're saying there. I see just servants going to talk without fight.
Yeah, but I
And
mean,
having enough to return saying, run.
like
But I mean,
your men aren't, if they're attacked, your men aren't going to just stand around and do nothing. They're going to fight back, and well, that's the definition of a battle.
yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't say how many men he sent out.
No,
Uh,
we know it's not 400 though.
so, yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be so scared.
Let's see, where you are. Verse 13. So he lodged there that same night and took what came to his hand as a present for his brother, for Esau his brother, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 foals. Then he delivered them to the hand of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass over before me and put some distance between successive droves. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong and where are you going? Whose are these in front of you? Then you shall say, they are your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau, and behold, he also is behind us. Let me go ahead and finish. So he commanded the second and third and all who followed the drove, saying, in this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. And also say, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present went on over before him, but he himself lodged that night in the camp. That's a lot of animals. But 200 of goats and ewes and so on and so forth. He had a lot. And I'm just a wild thought. I wonder if this was a tenth of what he owned.
Interesting.
You know, considering that was a normal gift of giving was a tenth.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of animals.
Yeah.
And I like his little game that he plays where he sends this group first, and then a little while later the next. It's like there's more and more. There's more coming. There's more coming. Please accept me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Oh, I'm gonna paraphrase again, but another verse in Proverbs says that gifts um, softens the heart, makes a way. Um, it of course what it means is bribes, and this is what that is. It's a bribe. Now let me come by peacefully. Don't kill me the way you're planning. But yeah,
It's- I'm just amazed at how much he's got, how much he's willing to give
yeah,
out of this. And it, so he already knows that his brother has an army.
yeah,
So apparently his brother's got money.
yeah.
You know, kind of wondering, you know, if Esau were to not uh, not be the person that he becomes here in this instance, be like, that's it. That's all you're gonna give me? Look what I've got, you know.
Yeah.
But uh, that's another story, right? From another. Anyway, so he's again he's manipulating, bribing, whatever you want to call it, buying his way in, buying his brother's love. Uh, you know, he's used to doing that.
Yeah.
Uh,
He. I mean, we've well established that he's a schemer. Um, his mama was a schemer, and they did it in service of furthering the spiritual mandate of the family. But whenever you entangle material wealth with spiritual stuff, it can come across as not so pure, as somehow tainted.
mm-hmm.
So a lot of people look at Jacob and they're like, oh, what a weaselly little booger. But we got to keep in mind that he's at every step actually fighting for a destiny and a legacy. And these were not like our times where the government hands out food stamps and housing assistance and stuff. These guys knew real life. They couldn't get up and say, well, if the government don't give me my EBT, I'm gonna rob Walmart. Instead, they had to squeeze water from a rock. They had to make a way in a desert place. They had to fend for themselves, and so the spiritual and the material become entangled. Um, but it's all for a just cause. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you had said, he's doing it for the legacy. Because you know, back in verse 12, he says talks about his people being like the sand of the seas,
Yeah.
no, without number. You just can't number them. And I guess he's always got that in the back of his mind, and he's got to work toward that.
Yeah.
Verse 22. And he arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now when he had saw that did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So he said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." He said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked, saying, "Tell me your name, I pray." And he said, "Why is it that you ask about my name?" And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of that place Peniel. Okay. For I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Just as he crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, and the muscle that shrank. Lot going on, and we were discussing this. Now, this man that he was wrestling with is Jesus, in my professional opinion, because as we see later on in the verses here, and I know that I said that a man wrestled with him. The man was capitalized, but that's because of how the English language puts it.
Yeah.
And he's wrestling with this man, and it's assumed that he's an angel. And we had talked about angels had a type of physical body because that's how they had relations with the women of men. So they've got a physical body of some type. And as things are going on, just because he's wrestling with Jesus doesn't I'm sure Jesus could have just wiped him out, okay, but he is wrestling him as man to man.
Yeah.
I think he's doing it on a purpose of showing Jacob that he has the ability to come against his enemies. Not that Jesus was the enemy, but he was showing him that you've got the strength, you've got it in you, what it takes for what I want you to do.
Yeah.
So much so that he pops his hip out of place to end the fight. I guess fairly, I don't know. But what really tells us the fact that he's wrestling face to face with God is what he says in verse 30. For I have seen God face to face.
Yeah.
And the only one that you can see face to face is Jesus, because you cannot see the Father face to face, because that is instant death to a mortal.
Yeah.
And it's it's plainly written that this was a. I can't imagine having that type of encounter, much less just shaking his hand. Here he is wrestling with him,
Yeah.
and he's I think he's showing him, something in this. He's just not just wrestling with him just because it's something to do, but I think it's to test him and to prove him.
Yeah. It's interesting. First of all, I see. I can just imagine Jesus in a gi, wrestling him, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style. Put him in a Kimura or whatever else. Just get him a good lock. But it's interesting because a lot of commentaries say that it was an angel. Nowhere does it say it's an angel. All it says is that he was a man, and there was something so compelling about this man that Jacob realized that he was wrestling God, that he had seen God face to face. And for all those viewers out there that hasn't seen our episodes before, or um, may have questions about why you called him Jesus specifically, we see this mysterious man figure appear in multiple passages throughout the Bible, throughout the Tanakh, what the church calls the Old Testament. He's there in this episode. He's there in the lion's den with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He's there in the fiery furnace with Daniel. And
Moses sees him a lot.
Yeah, Moses sees him a few times. Joshua sees him. And sometimes he's referred to as the angel of the Lord. Specifically, the angel of the Lord, not just any angel of the Lord. But the way he's described is always in terms of divinity. You cannot mistake him for a normal angel. But he's also called the Son of Man. And of course, that was the title that Jesus preferred for himself. The Son of Man. He always said, "You'll see the angels ascending and descending upon the Son of Man." And in John 1:51, so from that alone we can infer that this man, who is God, who Jacob himself confirms is God, is the second person of the Trinity, Jesus Christ. Now, for our Jewish friends out there, how do you get from God to Jesus, Jesus being God? Isaiah 53 clearly says that the Messiah, his other name for him will be Prince of Peace, Everlasting God, Everlasting Father, Mighty God. When you put it all together, all the pieces fit in a specific way. And people, depending on their preconceived notions, try to pull it and stretch it and try to get it to fit in other ways, but it doesn't. It only fits one way. I don't know if that helps, but hopefully I made it a little more clearer. But like you said, nobody can see the Father with mortal eyes, because we just couldn't take it. We would die. It would be instant death. And the Holy Spirit cannot be seen. He only appears in a physical form only once, and that in the shape of a dove. Otherwise, he appears several times as tongues of fire, both in the Talmud and or in the Midrashim and in the New Testament. But the only person of the Godhead that appears consistently, physically, in flesh, is the second person of the Trinity. What first century, Second Temple era Jews called the second power of heaven. And for more discussion on that, I'll refer you to um, Dr. Michael Heiser of blessed memory. He has plenty of really good teaching videos out there on YouTube land. Um, look it up. Um, you'll be blessed. But yeah, it's this one guy. And how amazing is it that God chooses to interface with material creation in human form? Yeah. But while we're saying that, if this discussion is a blessing to you, if you're learning anything, if you have anything you would like to contribute to the discussion, please like, subscribe, share, comment. Um, help us by doing so get the uh, Word of God and the gospel in front of as many people as possible. Um, but yeah.
Oh, a lot of people may not know this because I really didn't understand it, but uh, say this intelligently here. Explain the reason why Jewish people don't eat the meat from the hip socket.
Oh, well, there's both a biblical and a rabbinical commandment against eating certain parts of an animal. And with regards to this, it's to commemorate this event so that both the inner and outer side of the muscle, the nerve that runs through it on the hip, is not consumed, and the fat will be removed also, to commemorate this event where God humbled himself and came to earth in pre-incarnate fashion and wrestled with Jacob and changed his name and blessed him. Just like, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if that helps.
No, I mean that's fine because I never really understood that when you said commemorate, that made a lot more sense to me. It's a remembrance,
Yeah.
and also I meant to say that his name Israel
Yeah.
has a specific meaning. It's not just a name that he gave him. It was specific, and it literally means face of God.
Yeah. Well, that's Peniel. Israel is he wrestled with God and prevailed. It means to struggle with God.
Oh, okay. I said corrected. Um, so he says, but you're uh, no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, uh, prince with God.
Yeah.
Okay. I had those backwards, but anyway,
But yeah.
it's not just, a name. Hey, your name's going to be Chuck. Doesn't mean anything. Your name is
Yeah. It's interesting that in English we
nothing
have.
against Chucks, by the way.
I mean, I was gonna make a joke about chuck roast, or the cut of beef.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll skip that for now. um, it's interesting that in English we have forgotten the meaning of names, because every name has a meaning, whether we know it or not. But in much of the rest of the world, people are named either because it's a family name or because of the meaning of the name.
Yeah.
Like my brother, Sajid Thomas.
Mhm.
Sajid means one who prostrates in worship. Um, my middle name literally means sure.
Sure.
I mean, it comes from um, the same root as the word amen. So being established, being firm, being sure, trustworthy, all those meanings are incorporated. Um, a friend of mine, Yushan, her name means a uh, garden of roses. Every name has a meaning.
Mhm.
So, just like Jacob meant heel grabber, Israel means prince of God or prince with God or to wrestle with God. And names are thought of having a prophetic meaning. In many cultures, you wait until the child begins showing character traits, and then you name the child accordingly. Um, and we forget it. I wonder what everybody else's names mean. And I think if we dig into our own names, find out their meanings, maybe we can learn something about ourselves or about what God meant us to be, or some characteristics that we need to wrestle with and overcome. Um, Names are beautiful, and it's a shame that more people don't know
Mhm.
the meaning of their own name.
I forgot mine. I used to know it, but I forgot it.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a joke with my name. Being I'm Italian, they when they shipped us Italians over to uh, the U.S., they put us in boxes and put to New York.
Oh, Lord.
Tony.
Oh,
That's where
Lord.
we got the name Tony.
Tony. All right, that makes sense.
Uh, you ready to
It's
well?
Tony.
Yeah, you ready to dive into 33?
Yeah. Maybe we can sign off and sign back on for a second video.
Okay.
That way,
Yeah, this one has been about 45 minutes.
yeah.
A little longer, maybe a little 50. But anyway, that sounds good.
So we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, God bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, and give you peace.
Amen.